Now, the First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Well, hi there, friends. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta. Let's talk about that forecast out here. You see on your screen, we got a tornado watch for the western half of the First Coast, pretty much a good portion of southeastern Georgia, where Charlton County under this, parts of Suwannee County further towards the south. Not quite into Columbia there for Lake City, nor do I anticipate, at least at this time, that tornado watch to be extended further towards the east. If we are talking about that threat of tornadoes, it is for some of our western counties here across the First Coast and over towards the Big Bend area and also into the Panhandle of Florida. Actually, all the way out towards Leon County, we had a pretty decent return on radar just about an hour ago. So the point is, things are kind of active, but it does seem like that severe weather threat maybe not as high as further towards the west, but still that chance of some strong storms here closer to Jacksonville as we go over the course of the next few hours. So we do have this weather impact alert that is in place. That is from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. here tonight. That tornado watch is in place till 6 p.m. this evening. We have showers, downpours, a few strong storms are going to be possible with this. A brief spin-up tornado can't be ruled out. So make sure you use caution if you are out there commuting here this evening as those storms push on through. If you are watching this right now, you're pretty much ahead of the game. You're getting informed, you're staying weather aware, and that is the key thing. But you can also, share some of this information with your friends. I can't tell you, I've talked to a few people today and said, oh yeah, we got some decent storms kicking on through this evening, and they were surprised, so make sure you're staying weather aware and make sure other people around you are staying weather aware. This is actually a live camera out of Madison. That is just towards it's west of Lake City, so kind of well out there, Suwannee County area, but you see the winds picking up, and there's your whole line of storms kind of setting up there. A lot of lightning coming off with that still around the Big Bend area into the Panhandle, and we could watch, this line maybe spark up a few stronger storms if it gets closer to the coast with the sea breeze by this evening. My point is, it's a complex system. It may be not as potent as it was yesterday or even this morning, but it still has that potential of kicking up some stronger cells here. So if you have any questions, you got any comments, maybe you want to share what you're seeing out there. We're also streaming live on a variety of social media platforms. If you are on one of them, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, or you want something specific about this forecast. I'm also joined in, he just walked into the room here a moment ago, meteorologist Ross Muma. Ross, thanks for jumping in here. What are your thoughts on today's storms? Just I know you just got done building up the forecast. Yeah. I just kind of did my brief overview. Are you seeing anything different? What are your thoughts also maybe on that sea breeze interaction? And this is an honest question. This is not a tee up or anything. Yeah. Because I haven't talked to you about that yet today. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think the sea breeze is a good point and certainly a possibility. I was looking at just kind of at like a meso analysis, and it does look like there is like a bubble of some extra heating kind of up towards like Brantley, inland Glenn and Camden County, so that portion of southeast Georgia, it does look like there might be a little bit of some extra fuel and energy there. So we'll have to watch for that. That's just based off of Cape values that I saw here.
Gotcha.
So that would be one area of concern. And then, yeah, I think you kind of the picture is depicted quite well. The extra heat and moisture coming out of the Gulf. You see all the lightning fire up there across the Big Bend. As the whole line shifts further to the southeast, Alachua County, Union, Bradford, even, Putnam and Southern Clay, a little bit closer to the Gulf Coast. You're closer to that energy source. I think you could have a chance for a few stronger storms there, even if it's, getting close to sunset or even thereafter, because it does look like once we lose the daytime heating, Robert, that the vast majority of the severe weather threat will begin to diminish a little bit. I don't expect this to be a all-night severe weather risk. I think obviously we'll still see maybe a few isolated storms and so, some rain and showers, post-sunset. But I really do think it's pretty much between now and, let's say, 8 to 9 p.m., kind of the greatest window of severe weather here.
And to that effect, you're talking about this being a little bit later in the day, right? And we have this clouds kind of building in overhead, but it's not completely overcast. And I just showed this a second ago. The temperatures.
It's still pretty sunny outside.
Right? It's sunny. Look at Mayport, 93. Keystone's at 90. So the heat is there. Sometimes we get this cloud cover and it backs off the temperature, so there's not as much energy. So what are your thoughts maybe on this just carrying a little bit further towards the east? And also, just to pick your brain too, Ross, and I just said I don't think that they're going to extend the tornado watch, but this is just a meteorologist kind of conversation to be had here. Do you think they're going to extend it over further towards the east, based on, you were just talking about those Cape values increasing?
I wouldn't be surprised if they include it, because I don't think Glenn and Camden County are included in this, right?
No.
So I could see both of those, and perhaps Nassau County. If the tornado watch does get extended, I could see all of those, but I don't expect it for Duval and anywhere, off to the south of really I-10. So I certainly could see that as a possibility. My only, question is, because we've been so warm recently, the entire column of air is quite warm, so, especially our low-level lapse rates are kind of weak. Will that, especially as the whole system moves further, eastward and toward us, does that kind of inhibit some of the storm risk just because the overall, column has been so warm over the past, 4 or 5 days? That's just kind of a question up in the air.
And to explain to our viewers that maybe not so weather inclined, this is a clear example of how in meteorology we don't just look at it two-dimensional, it's a three-dimensional monster. And what Ross is saying, basically cold air aloft and warm air at the surface is called an unstable environment. Naturally cold air wants to sink, but if warm air is getting thrusted up, it's that instability that we're talking about here. But if the whole column is above average, the whole column is warm, we've been under this deep high pressure area, it may not have that amount of instability that is there. Despite there's significant warming at the surface, if we don't have that cold air aloft, or at least into the mid-levels, it could inhibit some of this. So that's actually a very good point, Ross.
I think just because the whole line of storms is actually ahead of the cold front itself, I think if the storms were lined right up on it, then that might not matter nearly as much. But because the whole line is kind of prefrontal, you might not have nearly as much, of a forcing mechanism from the cold front itself.
And to say what Ross is getting at here is the cold front is actually I think I see, well, that's a warm front right there. I don't know why I did that. But my point is,
you had it at the right spot, though.
Kind of see it. I'm just using arrows now, but I can kind of see where the cold front is right about in there.
Yeah.
That thin line, actually, it looks like just west of Pensacola. So yeah, but for them, since there is all this cloud cover and is all this rain out ahead of that, you're not going to get severe weather along the actual cold front because that stability is kind of setting in. Digress. Let's go through some of our graphics here and let's kind of talk about some of the timing, because a lot of people are going to ask about Jacksonville.
Yep.
So first off, here's our hour by hour, and this is specific for Jacksonville arriving probably closer to about the 4-6 o'clock time frame. You get those showers, those thunderstorms. You can see how the temperatures drop off, not only because of sunset, but also because we get some evaporative cooling as it kicks on by. And I'm going to go through a couple of the models here, and Ross, please jump in. I'm going to show the HRRR
Yep.
and the 3-kilometer IBM.
Okay.
Because I do believe the IBM's kind of handling it's a little bit better. It's a little bit faster paced, and it feels like it's showing this line weaken a little bit. But what I do notice is closer to 6, 7 o'clock, the IBM's almost picking up on some discrete cells in here, it feels like, which maybe that interaction with the heating and kind of the onshore breeze there. When we say discrete, we mean these cells that could set up and bring, they kind of get a little bit standoffish from all the other weather systems in the area, which would allow it to suck up a little bit of energy. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Not to say it's 100% going to happen. Never with these models is the case. But that's a possibility. Now, as far as timing, this pushes through, and the reason why we have the weather impact alert in places by 3 a.m., this is going to taper off for our southern counties. What do you think, Ross? Probably just prior to sunset would be our highest chance for that severe weather more in the first coast?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for Jacksonville especially, I would say, let's say earliest 6 to 6:30, but more than likely it'll be closer to between about 7 and 9, I think. Mm-hmm. Specifically for Jacksonville and Duval County itself. So was that the HRRR?
That was the HRRR. I think I said the IBM.
So
earlier,
this is the IBM.
Yeah. So this is the in-house model, kind of showing more linear here, and the arrival about 6 o'clock into Jacksonville, a little bit slower.
And where that sea, as you mentioned, Robert, where that sea breeze convergence, can enhance, some low-level rotation. So areas like Glenn and Camden counties, right around, what is that there? Yeah, 7:30, 8 o'clock. So this would be certainly could be a possibility. Mm. And it kind of shows that a little bit. It shows the enhancement of the reflectivity just a hair. So,
I just feel like this is going slow based on the initialization.
It's
right. Yeah, because that initial line is already past Waycross at this point. So you got it, and this is how meteorologists analyze this for everybody at home. Is you always look at that initialization and go, what is the first hour of the model saying? Is it smart? Is it right on? And I do think this says 7, but think of this probably an hour or so earlier is what I think. This is probably more like a 5, 6 o'clock time frame. But then this kind of shows that lingering, and if we're going to look at the back side, this keeps that stuff around to about 1, 2 o'clock, at least the rain's starting to taper off after it pushes on through. So to that effect, Ross just said here, just prior to sunrise, if you're talking about specifically Duval County, going to be looking at that chance. Now, we do have a slight chance of severe weather still in place. You see how the core of this is more further towards the north and west for southeastern areas of Georgia, naturally where the tornado watch is in place right now. It's a 2 out of 5. If you remember, 2 weeks ago, Ross, we had those 2 confirmed tornadoes in the first coast.
Yeah.
That was a enhanced, right? Or was that a moderate?
It was an enhanced day.
Okay, but that shows we were a little bit more worried about that because that was kind of the 3 out of 5 on the severe weather risk. This is not a model, by the way. Our friends up in Oklahoma at the Storm Prediction Center, some really smart people out there. They put these out every day. It's a good tool to kind of give you an idea of where that severe weather threat is. So let's go through. I'll take the first 2 here, Ross. I'll give you the end. First, let's start off with Ware County. 3 to 11 o'clock. We're already it could have pushed us about 2 because Ware or Waycross just had a storm push just north of them. And by 11, most of that's going to be tapered off for them. But that is the highest chance for severe thunderstorms. You're talking more towards the north and west. About 5 to 1, closer towards the coast there. I would say probably even 5 to about 7, 8 o'clock is going to be the highest chance there. Showers, isolated thunderstorms, and then we can scoot a little bit further towards the south. And these storms are just west of Lake City, more towards Suwannee County. Showers, thunderstorms. Ross is getting up right now. I was about to toss you.
I'm going to go to the meeting.
Oh, yeah. We do have other jobs to take care of. We have the in-house just kind of news meeting at 2:30, and that's right now. So Ross is going to take care of that. So I'll keep talking to you guys. Forward to 1 o'clock, but I would say probably closer to 4 to about 6, 7 o'clock for Lake City, Union, Bradford, Baker County. We are looking at that energy coming in out of the Gulf. So showers, thunder, definitely, maybe even a severe thunderstorm possible, especially further towards the west if you're talking about like the I-75 corridor here. Now, closer to the coast, 7 o'clock, probably the best time. I think the initial line of showers should be arriving about 6, 7 o'clock there. I know it says 7 to 3, with closer to midnight kind of it starting to taper off. And now, I haven't adjusted this graphic, I'll be honest with you, but I'm telling you based on the data we just looked over together, and we're looking at the radar right now and the timing and everything. It looks like this is going to run a little bit earlier. Yeah, but even after that initial line does move on by, just remember, well into the evening, we're going to have messy weather here, even into the Jacksonville area. It's going to be raining, a bit dreary. Winds are going to start to kick out in the northwest, and we'll have some pretty northwesterly breezes on the backside of this as it moves off towards the east. Now, for Clay and Putnam County, about 7 o'clock, but you could see some more energy, and if I know it's hot out there, we're into the 90s, so we get that moisture and that heat combined, and we get enough instability, you could have some stronger cells closer to that 7 o'clock time frame, kicking past some of those southern counties there. And then eventually, as it is quite often with our spring storms, places like Palm Coast, you'll be the last to be impacted. And if it's after sunset here, it will probably start to get a lot weaker. So there's this whole line progressing west to east. If you've looked at the theme of this, the further west and the further northwest you are, the higher chance. Everybody's going to get on some rain. So I haven't read any of the comments yet, and I'll get to them in just a second here. But if you're asking specifically, is it going to rain at my house? Yeah. Everybody will get rain. The further west you go, the higher chance of thunderstorms. Now, there are some spots that could be that chance of severe thunderstorms too, especially further for our western counties, but I think that maybe parts of Clay and Putnam County, if that line does hold together, you could be looking at a little mix of that just closer to a sunset. Here's a look at that tornado threat, and as I mentioned, this goes right to the theme of further west. There's that tornado watch that is in place. The tornado risk for today is definitely Suwannee County. This is back basically smack right where our tornado watch is. That was put out this morning prior to the tornado watch. So, yeah, once again, we are under this weather impact alert that is in place, and all night here we put these out not to hype things up. We put it out a few days ago, but more or less to give you a heads up, let you know there's going to be inconvenience to your day here. And this is what Ross was just talking about, that CAPE, that convective available potential energy. Look at those areas in the darker greens. That's kind of where you have that higher chance of those stronger storms. Actually, lightning would be yellow. It doesn't really show a lot of it. So this particular model thinks that this thing's actually going to kind of fall apart just a bit here. Now, if you are curious, we've had days of severe weather, right? Out west, especially across parts of the plains, Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana. Over the past 4 or 5 days, I know some tornado chasers out there who are having a field day. I also have seen the footage of people seriously being impacted. It has been devastating. This is definitely going to be one of those tornado outbreaks for the books. This has a lot to do with the, I see that kind of right just south of St. Louis there. There's that dip in the jet stream. This is a deep trough, and that has been lingering and has been stalled out. And the same reason why on the first coast in northeast Florida, southeast Georgia, we have been in the heat. It's that high pressure area, that circle off of the east coast of Florida. That's a high pressure area. That has been blocking that whole trough from moving anywhere. So the instability has really been out west. Now that high is starting to weaken, and naturally, if that moves towards the east, our trough is going to move east as well. And that has been the reason why we're setting up that instability across the first coast here, is because that trough is moving through. This whole line of storms is moving through, and yeah, that's going to kick on by. As we go ahead into our Tuesday, we're going to get another high pressure that's going to set up, albeit this one coming in from the north. That is going to create some cooler conditions. We'll have several days of onshore winds, which I think is going to lead to that chance of some precipitation. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can see we have 20 to 30% there. It is not because of, a front or anything, but more of this onshore breeze that could be enhanced by the sea breeze. Temperatures are a lot cooler throughout the duration of that, but we are going to be looking at some of those kind of on and off showers. So, with that said, we've walked through the forecast here. Hopefully, some of you got some good, valuable information out of that. Now I'm going to go try to read some of our comments here. So if you are joining just now, it may be kind of all over the place depending on what some of the comments are. And actually, I just checked Facebook. We got a ton of people on here. Jerry says, is there any hail in this storm? And to answer your question, this was 15 minutes ago, so I do hope that Jerry McGarry is still here. Good question. And to that effect, Jerry, since, as Ross just said, we have so much warm air over us, despite this being from a cold front, it is prefrontal. I think the hail threat is low. Now, it's not zero. If we do get a good storm that is deep and maybe even tornado warned, which I don't anticipate, but it's possible, then there would be hail. But I would say that the hail chance is a lot lower because the heat column is so deep here across the First Coast today that you need the form hail. The storm has to be tossing water, moisture, particles above the freezing point, right? So if the freezing level is so high that it can't do that, then you're not going to get hail. And also that would limit the amount of lightning too, but I do think that the hail threat is a little bit lower. If it does happen, it would probably be small. It wouldn't be the gorilla hail you're seeing out west. Michelle, it says hello from St. Petersburg. Thank you very much for stopping by. Shout out to our friends at WTSP in Tampa. If they're probably going to be doing a live stream here as well. So I appreciate you watching our live stream, but make sure you stop by them as well. That is 10 Tampa, one of our partners here. Severe Weather Chaser says, what about Homerville, Georgia? And you know what I'm thinking? You got that line of storms kind of moving off into your direction. I'm not sure if you guys are, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if you guys are on the tornado watch or not, but I do think that this whole line is kind of weakening. So if you are looking for a storm to chase in southeast Georgia, I would say you're probably, you're going to get a good kind of shelf cloud, maybe some good gusty winds. Let me check and see if there's any good special weather statements out across that area too. Ooh, what is this? Oh, we do have a severe thunderstorm actually right now in place. Oh, actually, look at that. So guys, we're getting this all together here. This is in place till 3 o'clock, severe thunderstorm. And you know what you see here? I'm going to pull up the velocity on this, and I will come back and answer your questions, guys. I'm just going to analyze this real quick here. This just popped up, but you see this kind of bend right there and right there. Now, that's not the way the winds are going. It's just the line I have. I'm sorry. But that bending indicates kind of those winds getting thrusted forward. And let's see, because there might be some rotation in this, just based on what I see. When you have these storms that kind of go linear, like this versus discrete, it is often within, I wonder if I can get that, see, this is in the worst spot possible because it's within the 2 radars. See, when I flip back and forth like this, I'm flipping from the Valdosta radar to the Jacksonville radar, so it's kind of in the worst spot possible. But you do see kind of some inflow there and outflow rate in there, which could indicate rotation. If we go back to the radar there, that is that severe thunderstorm. So anyways, let me read this off for you guys, and then I'm going to get back to your questions here. So if you are from DuPont all the way down towards Madison, we do have that severe thunderstorm warning that is in a place that extends out towards Fargo, north of Live Oak here. Let's read. So it's 60-mile-per-hour winds. Expect damage to roof sidings. This is your stereotypical, threats for a severe thunderstorm, which a lot of people say it's not tornado warned. I'm not as worried. I've seen severe thunderstorm damage get pretty gnarly here. If you're in DuPont, Mayday, Belmont, Jasper, Suwannee River State Park, Jennings as well. This also remains, the tornado watch also still in place, by the way, till 6 p.m. And now, to put egg on my face, Jerry McGarry, you asked the question a moment ago about hail, and I said, probably not. Now the National Weather Service is saying that this particular storm could have hail up to, it looks about 3/4 of an inch. So that's pretty big, which means that, this might be having some pretty decent high cloud tops. In fact, let me just real quick do a side scan of this, and let's see what our cloud tops are looking like right now. That indicates, almost up to about 30,000 feet, which solid. Solid cloud tops right there. If we get up to about 30,000, that could be hitting up. That's about where jets fly. That's a pretty high storm there. So within that, we could have a hail core that could be producing some decent hail. So a little egg on my face because I said just a second ago, but I'm without flaws, nor do I act like I'm going to get it right 100% of the time. And that's why we continue to update, and that's why these live streams are so useful. So going back to some of your questions here. Hey, Lake Butler in Florida, Bradford County. Stacy stopping on by. Stacy, you know, those storms are going to be probably here a little bit later on in the day, closer to your dinner time. You can see the energy with these lines of cells, a lot of lightning coming in out from the southwest and even all the way back here offshore. So that means for your counties down here, you know, like Union, like Bradford, if some of those storms do come across the Big Bend area, they hold some of that energy together. And I've seen your temperatures there, Stacy, into Lake Butler is up into the 90s. That is some instability. So if these storms hold together, we still got that lightning, and if that runs into that warm air that is still into the 90s, we could have some decent storms closer to about your dinner time here. So thanks for stopping by. All right, let's see. And I just answered your question there, Stacy. I apologize for taking a while to get to you there. Just wind all day so far, Karen says, and thank you very much for stopping by, Karen. You know, it's very windy. We actually have a wind advisory in place. And let me pull up our actual wind reports here all across the First Coast. And this is sustained right now. So look at that. So this is feeding into our front. And anytime, as we all know, if you've been here long enough, you see these good days where we have a strong southerly wind, 20 to 30 miles per hour, and the temperatures are warming up to 90 degrees. Even before the age of radar and satellite, this was a telltale sign that storms were coming. That is just that low-level jet mixing down to the surface because we have that heating, cause a little bit of stirring in the atmosphere. So it's upper-level winds spin down. If you see those clouds racing from south to north, and in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull up a camera here just to talk a little bit about the wind. I'm not going to try to get too far off topic. But you know what I want is our camera that I can move around, which I just found out the other day. I can move this thing. Pretty cool. It looks like it's looking at a fire right now. I hope that it's. I wonder what they're looking at right now. This is interesting. But I'm gonna try to. Okay, it's not. But there, see our camera bouncing in the wind there. So let's pull this back, and let's look at the clouds here, because you can actually physically see them kind of moving along. Yeah, you can kind of physically see them moving along from south to north there. And that's our low-level jet. And when that does mix down towards the surface, that's when we're talking about those winds kind of mixing down as well. But if we look around, you know, kind of get a, don't want to look that way. That's the tower itself. Let's look off here. We're going to go scroll this off towards the east. So that should give us a good south to the north kind of look with that low-level jet pushing on through. And as we go ahead throughout the day, I'm going to swing this further towards the north and west because we'll probably start to see those storms kind of develop. And in fact, we'll continue to kind of go that way towards the north and west here and kind of see those storms. And there we go. We got that upper level cirrus kind of building in. You see how the clouds are a little bit thicker. That's where our storms are coming from. Anyways, back to answering a few of your questions here. Margaret says bow echo, 100%. That is a good name. That is a bow echo. Back on that severe thunderstorm warning that we were just talking about a moment ago. That's the official term for it. When you get kind of that bending in the radar there, you can see it just south of Homerville, where somebody just said, "Hey, how about Homerville?" Looks like you're just about to get kind of knocked there from a moment in a moment that is. But I'm more concerned about the southern half of that bow echo. You kind of see where it bends and hooks just east of Lake Park, Jasper. I wonder if I have a camera out of Jasper, because it would be interesting kind of get a good look at what it is happening out there. While I'm pulling that up, let's see what else. Anybody else has any questions here right now? Checking our Facebook page. I don't see anything. Did we enable comments on our live stream on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see anything there now. But if anybody's watching on YouTube and you want to ask some questions, please let me know. And unfortunately, Malcolm, if you know a little Spanish, I do not. Oh, there's a translation button. It says, "Enjoy your breakfast." Okay, well, thanks. All right. Not sure what. Okay. I guess I have my coffee here. Maybe that's what they were talking about. So let me pull up out of Fargo here. Or what I'm going to try to do is find something out of Jasper. They are under a severe thunderstorm warning right now for potential for 60-mile-per-hour winds, kind of kicking on through there. That is just towards the west of Live Oak. Let me see. Where is this one? There we go. That's Jasper. Let me see. Okay, here's our weather. Ooh, ooh. You know, I got a good camera view coming up for you guys if I say ooh a few times here. So I just pulled up our weather stem camera out of Jasper. Let me go back to our camera here and let's see what it looks like. It looks like you got a nice little shelf cloud kind of pushing in just to the right of the screen there. Can you see that there, Malcolm? Kind of see what I'm looking at? Yeah, so just on the right side of the screen is our shelf cloud. This is kind of a choppy video, but I'm sure the winds are picking up here. This is currently at the Hamilton EOC, so Hamilton County EOC. And yeah, that's just the leading edge of this storm that's kind of kicking on there through there right now. This severe thunderstorm warning in place for that area. Oh, here's another one off of I-75. This is mile marker 456. I'm sure for nobody that means anything, but it's kind of southwest of Jasper, just northeast of Adams, and that is a good view right there because you can see a little bit of the almost looks like Mamatis kind of forming up ahead of that, but you can see the rain shaft falling there just on the right side of the screen. This whole storm cell should kind of push over this particular spot in the next few minutes. In fact, I'll pull it up. So we're gonna track this together here, friends. And if I get a little bit too into the weeds, let me know. That's not my goal, is to get too far into the weeds here with you. But the whole point of us coming on here is track this severe thunderstorms together. In just a few minutes, I'll try to bounce back. I only got about 13 more minutes with you here, but I'll bounce back to give you that forecast for the rest of the night. And then I'll be back on a little bit later on the day. But for specifically Jasper, I mean, here we go. Moving towards the east about 40 miles per hour. Yeah, that's going to be in your house at about less than 5 minutes. You know what, I'm actually going to change this up because it's more moving towards the east and northeast, just like that. That doesn't really change the timing for Jasper a little bit sooner. But you could be looking at some winds, 50 to 60 miles per hour. That's what the forecast is there for you. But Fargo Elementary, 3:24. I don't know what time specifically that elementary school gets out, but 3 to 4 o'clock seems about time school would typically get out. So that could be, this is pushing through a lot of these communities, Fargo Elementary being one, where school could be starting to be released right when that line of storms is pushing on through that leading edge of that bow echo there, which based on velocity may have a little bit of rotation kind of mixed in there as well. Not to mention that chance of hail pushing through there as well. Okay, this is interesting. I want to check something. Appling County. Appling County looks like there was some wind damage. Now, Appling County and Jasper Road. This is north and west of Jessup. It's from that cell that pushed through back towards the north a little while ago. Looks like some pretty decent wind damage. And in our break here in just a few minutes, I'm going to try to import some of that into our show because I got about 10 minutes right now. And I'll try to put some of that in there. Anyways, my point is, let's go back to that camera. Let's watch this cell pushing right up I-75. Kind of see that towards the north and east. Those clouds continue to kick on in, but I'm going to answer a couple of your questions. All right, no more questions at the moment. Let me see if I can find a better camera just north of that. We can actually pull up one right inside of this line of storms. This is a look out on I-75 due west of Jasper, where this severe thunderstorm is rolling in overhead at this moment. And that's what it looks like there right now. And this is, radar estimated 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. You can see the trees kind of waving in the wind there. And like I said, that's the leading edge. And this is actually just south of where I was saying there was kind of that rotation potentially being indicated on radar there. We don't have a lot of cameras out here naturally because it is a little bit more rural. Once this gets closer to the Jacksonville area, we got loads of cameras. Some are kind of going off of where we have I-75, and like right here, we have a stem camera. Going back to the radar though, this is once again right here. kind of see where our severe thunderstorm warning is in place at this time. That is until 3 o'clock, so 10 more minutes on that, racing towards the north and east. And yeah, you got a couple bow echoes. One there pushing right over Homerville right now, another one just towards the north of Jasper. And all of this heading out towards the Fargo area, but it kind of almost see a little bit of a mesocyclone mixed in there. This is really interesting. And what I mean by that is you can even see it here if you look at it just right on reflectivity. Almost see where that is rotating. It is an interesting little cell there, and you never want a meteorologist say something is interesting, because that never is good. But you can see where the outflow is right there, and the inflow is wrapping in just like that. And I'm not saying that this is going to get tornado warned, but it is. If it did, I wouldn't be surprised. It's almost this broad kind of mesocyclone right in here. You have inflow and outflow kind of working together. It's very far away from the radar site, so this could be a little bit more up in the upper levels. What I'm going to try to do next, I'm just analyzing the storm for another minute here with all of you. If you have any questions, please let me know, though. I'm going to try to get your direct answers here. But let's go look ahead hail, see if this is putting up a hail core. It is not based on our kind of look, but it is showing rotation here based on radar analysis. Wind impact 5.5. Let's see. I'm just doing a little analysis here with you, friends. And just for giggles, not giggles, never funny, but let's take a look at the CC. Okay, good. So if there was something on the ground, it would be flaring up, an obvious CC scan here. It is not. That is fantastic. Obviously, there's nothing being lofted in the air. But this is pretty interesting, though. I kind of have this broad mesocyclone. Almost feels like this rotation rate in here along this line of this severe thunderstorm until 3 o'clock, which once again, radar indicating, some lightning coming out of this, but especially just north of Jasper, you could be looking at, 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, arriving closer to Fargo as we get closer to the 3 o'clock hour just after there. Homerville just saw it push overhead as well. Kind of looking at this severe storm. So let's pull back the picture, though, and I want to, before I get... I have to leave y'all, and if you're watching this on First Coast News Plus, Chris Porter is going to be jumping in and talking some basketball March Madness here with you for about a half an hour, 45 minutes. And then after he's done, I'll jump back on, and we'll continue to track these storms as they work their way across the First Coast. Naturally, if this thing does develop into a tornado, and there's a tornado warning, may have to cut him short. I hope we don't have to do that. I don't want to be here. Today's actually my day off, guys. So for those who say he loves talking to himself, that may be true, but sometimes, I'd rather be at home with my family. Scattered showers here, though, starting into the Jacksonville area. This is showing there about 4 to 6 o'clock. They're going to race overhead, but we could still, just around sunrise, see that highest chance of severe thunderstorms. Once again, we do have that weather impact alert that's in place. It looks like Ross has updated some of the numbers here. He's not in the room right now, but so we did change it from now to 3 a.m. Showers, downpours, a few strong to severe thunderstorms, I would say, since we do have a severe thunderstorm out there right now. That's going to continue to kick on by. And here is the 7-day, if you are curious, specific for Jacksonville. What about not only today, because now through the rest of this evening, we're going to watch these storms track overhead. But tomorrow, we're going to have a decent cool down with some breezy northwesterly conditions that are going to allow the mercury to drop into the lower 70s only for the high here. So, yeah, it's something to just keep in mind as we go ahead into tomorrow. Definitely the last few days we have had 90-degree days. Those are behind us. It's been kind of record-breaking highs out here. It's been a little absurd. But the same high pressure that's brought us that heat is the reason why it is so warm today, and also kind of fueling up these storm systems as this front pushes closer to us. And there's a look at the HRRR time frame is in the top right, kind of giving you a general idea of this whole mass of storms as it pushes on through here throughout this evening. So you want to continue to stay weather aware for sure. Throughout the rest of the evening. If you don't have it, the First Coast News app downloaded. I know I work at First Coast News. It's part of my job to push the app. But if you're watching us already, hopefully you do trust us to get your weather information. But the app's pretty cool. I get notified by severe thunderstorms typically first by that. It lets you know, hey, there's a tornado watch, a severe thunderstorm watch, especially if it's over your area. It geolocates you and it'll let you know. It's a good way to be notified. So that way, if you do go to bed tonight after sunset, it's dark out, that way you get pushed to your phone and it'll wake you up. And in the unlikely but potential event you have, even a tornado warning, it'll let you know after sunset. So that's good. All right. So don't really have too many more questions here on. All right. Catherine says, thanks for coming on your day off. Hey, the good part about it is that I like my job. Hippie Pirate, great name, by the way, says loves the beard. Thanks very much for, I'm trying to grow it out. It's a new look. I appreciate it. I'm happy that the TV station lets me keep it. If anybody from management's watching right now, thank you very much. Anyways, let's go back and let's just track this storm for a few more minutes until they kick me out of the room, because we're going to, of course, be tossing it over to Chris Porter at Porter's Place. Where's Chris at? He's in San Antonio, right? Yeah, he's over in San Antonio. Who are the Gators playing tonight? This is how much I'm out of it. Houston. Oh, so the Gators are almost playing away. Ah, goodness. Hey, there we go. This just popped another severe thunderstorm warning on that mesocyclone. That is until 3:30 now, as this whole line moves towards the north and east. And I'm just going to read on this real quick. Like I said, I still got a few more minutes, so I'm just going to keep talking until they kick me out of the room. But just a reminder, we do that thunderstorm damage. I'm going to bring that in when I come back here after Porter's Place. That severe thunderstorm warning, though, has been extended for 60-mile-per-hour winds. Places DuPont, Mayday, Manor, Fargo, Homerville, Argyle. As this moves towards the north and east, remain alert for possible tornadoes. That's something that it does say in here. Tornadoes can go quickly through a severe thunderstorm as well. So this severe thunderstorm has the possibility. I wouldn't say that, but it is something to put in the note here. There also is a tornado watch in place, and this thing is looking kind of interesting with that kind of overall spin on radar. So not to say anything's touching down near the surface, but I'm happy there's a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm not happy that there is a severe thunderstorm warning, but I'm happy there is one, because this is hopefully giving people kind of a heads up, especially in Homerville and Fargo, of this storm kind of pushing on through. Man, I wish Fargo needs to work on getting some good cameras out there. We got one camera there that is terrible looking. It's just pointed at the ground. One of their Georgia traffic cameras, absolutely putrid. If you're gonna have a traffic camera, please don't just point it at the ground. Have it looking somewhere. And this is a look out of Jasper. Let's see. I'm trying to hopefully grab something north and east of that. Bella's just off to my side here, so that's who I'm talking to. Please let me know when I need to just.
We got about 25 seconds.
25 seconds. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, then, I'm going to toss it. I'm going to wrap it up here right now. Just a reminder, till 6 o'clock, a tornado watch is in place for a good portion of the First Coast, especially in the southeastern Georgia. But we have that weather impact alert in place all evening. We will be streaming here. If I'm not here starting at 5, of course, First Coast News will be on. We'll be tracking these storms here for you there. But I should be back here in about a half an hour, 45 minutes if you are here strictly for the weather. If you want, though, watch Porter's Place. Don't go anywhere if you're watching this on First Coast News Plus, because he's going to be here in just a second talking about March Madness and the Gators out there in San Antonio. So, yeah, thanks for stopping by.